Hey guys, before today's video starts, I just want to say I severely apologize. The microphone was not plugged in or something. The audio is really messed up. And if you can tell, it's supposed to rain where I'm at for the next couple of days. There's a little bit of chance of rain over there. So the riding impressions are gonna have to wait for a couple of days. I hope you guys can bear with me on that. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, regardless of any of the issues that we were dealing with.
Boys, we got an exciting video for today. What if I told you guys this is the last ride on a Yamaha MT-07?
Well, here she is, boys. Your boy bought a Harley. Joking. I'm joking. I can't believe I even have to say that. Yeah, boys, I think this is the last time the MT-07 is going to ever be featured on the page, at least for a very long while. This bike was really good to us, nothing but reliable. I've expressed many times why I love this bike, but to be honest with you, this bike has just been a temptress that's been pulling me away from the 698. Whenever it's a day between the 698 and the MT-07, like a naked bike day, I always choose this bike because it's just easier to ride, even though I would rather be riding the 698. And on top of that fact, the only reason I was really keeping this bike around was because I thought it would be comfortable to take Eve out for a ride. But I had Eve out on this bike 2 days ago, and Eve did not think it was too comfortable. So if it can't even serve that purpose, I think it's just been a hole in my lineup, and it's time to sell her to make room for something else.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have bought a 2025 Yamaha R9. Thanks, my buddy Christian. Thank you for actually managing to get one.
Congratulations.
Appreciate you, buddy. These are really super hard in demand right now. Apparently a lot of people got their orders canceled, including mine. I originally ordered a black one, and unfortunately this is the only one.
Strings and still made one happen. You know?
Apparently I think the next black one comes in August or something like that.
Toward the end of the summer.
They only got a blue one over there. I think I have a clip of that.
This is what the R9 looks like in blue. Let's try to get it. Maybe. There we go. This dealership managed to get 2 of these things in. I know these are like rare production right now. Like they didn't make too many. I don't mind the blue as much as the white, I think. I think it's just the red that throws me off on the white. If it was like a little bit more pure white, it's got a nice little sparkle to the paint. I like that. It's not bad. I think if you're trying to go for any of these colors, I don't think you're going to be disappointed.
There actually is a little room.
There's a lot of room in there.
What's that? Is that a USB? It is.
You can stuff your whole hand in there.
Yeah, USB Type-C included.
Oh, word. Oh, Type-C. Okay. This is my 2025 Yamaha R9. I feel so weird saying that. This is one of the only ones that got delivered to the United States. If you guys didn't know, a lot of these got discontinued or canceled. Yamaha did not make enough to keep up with production on these bikes. So I didn't get the color that I exactly wanted, but it's fine. I had originally ordered a black one, but we got a white one instead. But I can't really complain. The white paint on this bike looks really nice. I don't think it's going to be too complicated to swap out the red parts for like carbon fiber or something, give it more of like a stormtrooper look. Plus it contrasts my matte black Yamaha R6 really well, so that way you guys can tell the difference between these two bikes. This bike is brand new for 2025. It's making about 120 horsepower for roughly around $12,500. That will get you one of these bikes. Now I paid closer to $14,000 out the door for this bike. I traded in my Yamaha MT-07, so bye-bye MT-07. Brand new Yamahas always have a certain smell to them. I can't really convey that through the screen too well. The cool thing about the R9 is it actually has a fuel gauge. So it is now, I think, my only motorcycle now with a fuel gauge, so that's cool. It's also rocking cruise control, power modes, literally anything that you could ever want on a sport bike, this bike has it. And so for $12,500, it's kind of setting the new standard for all that stuff. It is rocking a 3-cylinder motor from Yamaha, so there is a little bit of cost savings, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. What is this bike saving over other sport bikes? Because the R6 that was discontinued a few years ago cost the same price that this bike is being sold for today, 5 years later. So adjusting for inflation, this bike is $3,000 cheaper than the R6 was, but it's still rocking an aluminum frame with the same amount of horsepower. So where are they saving the cost? I don't know. So let's go find out. Here's a pretty warm start on my brand new 2025 Yamaha R9 with 1 mile on the odometer, dude. So while I was riding around, I looked back and realized that I think the dealer forgot something. I don't see a license plate on this bike, and so if I get pulled over today, I don't really know what to say. I just hope you guys realize, if I'm being harsh on this bike, if you think I'm being overly critical, please don't misinterpret my excitement. There's a reason I bought this bike and traded in my MT-07. Like, I was seriously excited to buy this bike. I waited so long for this thing to be delivered, and I really, my hope for this bike is it's kind of like a little mini S1000, because I miss my old S1000 so much, because I miss hitting wheelies on that bike. It was so smooth, but I don't think that bike is necessarily worth $25,000, especially considering that there were times last year that the S1000RR was sitting in my garage, and I was literally dreading riding it because all my other bikes had problems. I didn't want to ride it because I was just like, it's such a boring bike. Like, why would I spend $25,000 for that experience again? And so my hope is that this bike kind of follows suit with that it's so smooth and the wheelies are so good on it and it does everything kind of perfect because it has that cruise control and it's just that perfect middleweight 120 horsepower. So that way I'm not doing wheelies at 150 miles an hour. You're doing them at 60. I don't know, I'm really excited to get this bike broken in and like really kind of put through the ringer. But yeah, downside so far, the brakes are a little lackluster. Before anyone says, oh, the brakes need to be broken in, no, I can tell you for a fact right now, I've owned an R1, I've owned an R6, I've owned an MT-07, I've owned plenty of Yamahas. For whatever reason, Yamaha throws the exact same pads on all of their bikes, except for the new R1. The new R1 has really good pads, but there's a difference between like really good pads that like bite and grip and stop you really quickly and these like Yamaha pads that are like, it's not a bad thing. Brake pads are like really cheap. You can get a really nice pair for like 40, 50 bucks. So it's like, if that's a huge concern for you, it's not hard to replace. But I want this to be known. I'm not going to just be another glazer on this bike. I've owned too many bikes to like be able to pick out these flaws. If you want to go watch someone else who's just going to glaze the thing, there's probably a million videos in your recommended. You can go click and watch those. One nice thing I do have to say though is the comfort of this seat, dude. For whatever reason, I'm 6'1". I fit on Yamaha sport bikes pretty reasonably comfortable. I remember my Yamaha R1 was one of my most comfortable bikes for a little bit. This seat is extremely comfortable. I love it a lot. I feel like I could easily ride this thing around all day. So like, if that's something that you're looking for, thumbs up for me on that. Something I am coming to realize that is kind of a negative is this screen is really hard to see, if I'm honest with you. I have a lot of other bikes with screens just like this, and this one in particular, first of all, the bezels are massive. The bezels are huge, so this is honestly like a really nice size screen. It just looks really small because the bezels around it are so huge. I think Yamaha cheaped out on this screen a little bit because it is kind of hard to see in sunlight. It's not even direct sunlight. It's kind of like a cloudy day. It's really hard to see that screen when I'm out moving. But again, for 12.5, it's really hard to dig that bike for that. The fact that it has all this tech, all these power modes and everything, I don't know if we can, I don't know, man. I didn't really kind of dive into how this works, but oh yeah, dude, look at all that. All custom modes, all this tech, dude. Look at all this. Oh my goodness. The quality and the fit and finish on Yamaha's always seems to be a bit above like the other Japanese bikes, which I can appreciate as well. Everything on this bike feels about as high quality as my R6. All these buttons feel really nice. They feel nicer in the older generations of Yamaha, so that's good. So something I was really disappointed about the R9 that you guys are not going to believe. I guess I should have known this going into it. I guess I don't know. I didn't really do my research. This bike, unfortunately, does not have a ram air intake. Yeah, there's no ram air intake. Obviously, it has the giant headlight in the middle, like the R7, but I really expected Yamaha to put a tiny little bit of effort into this bike. Besides the glaring hole down here in the middle of the bike, that's usually where a ram air intake, there's a hole in the frame that usually has a ram air intake on these bikes. It just sucks that I don't think even future generations of this bike are gonna have that either. The airbox, I believe, has to be under the tank then. That sucks, man. So if you guys don't know what ram air intakes is on, I guess now old sport bikes used to have a hole in the middle of the front of the bike that would ram air when you're going really fast through the front of the frame and into the airbox. It helps increase a little bit of horsepower when you're going high speeds, especially when the bike revs really high, but I guess on these bikes that don't rev as high, you don't need that stuff. Minorly disappointing fact about the R9, I guess. I don't know what to expect. It's not terribly important, I guess. The bike still makes almost as much horsepower as an old R6. It doesn't really need it. I'm making mountains out of anthills because, you know, drama and it's how you make these videos interesting, but truly in like a grand scheme review type video, it's not a big deal. The good things is the wings don't look that bad in person. I will tell you, it's not a bad looking bike in person.
Yeah, my dudes, I just wanted to get these bikes together. I know there's probably a little bit of a small chance of getting rained on my brand new bike, but the temptation got the better of me. It's the 2025 R6 next to the 2025 R9. This is cooler than anything I could have asked for, dude. None of this would have been possible without you guys. I just want to say thank you so much for letting me make this possible. I would have never thought I would have been able to get my hands on a brand new R6, let alone an R9 in the same year. The R9 with that stupid stock plate mount, that needs to go ASAP, and also needs an exhaust. I need to order that as soon as I get home. I gotta be honest, when I started out today, I wasn't even sure I was gonna buy this bike. As I was trading in the MT-07, I got a little bit of money for the MT-07, but it was kind of like, it was more just about having the space for all these bikes. I know I'm not excited. I just know I'm not as excited to ride the R9 as I am the R6. It's just, maybe it'll grow on me. I don't know, but my initial, I'm a little bit skeptical. I've made mistakes buying bikes in the past, so maybe I'll come to regret this. I don't know. I hope not. It's Yamaha's new middleweight. Actually, Yamaha replaced this bike in the UK. Well, I'm sorry, all of Europe. The UK doesn't represent all of Europe. I'm sorry, European frogs. Yamaha discontinued the Yamaha R1 over in Europe. So, I mean, we still have it here in the States, but for all intents and purposes, this is replacing the R6 and the R1. I have a friend who owns a brand new 2025 Yamaha R1 as well. So maybe we can get a full lineup with the R7, R3, R1, R6, R9. I think it'd be really sweet. Something interesting about my year of R6 as well is this bike has an immobilizer. It has, see how it has like a little bit of a thicker key? And then you can see that little key thing, that's a little security thing that'll blink red every so often. See how the key ignition thing is super thick? Basically, if you make a key that looks just like this and try inserting it and starting the bike, it won't start. Computer chip inside of here that will not start the bike. Meanwhile, the Yamaha R9 just has this basic old Yamaha key. I can't believe they're still making these and putting these on their bikes. If you make a key exactly in this design and put it in this bike because it has like the old ignition, it'll start the bike. You can just ride away with the bike if you have a key. It just looks just like that. It's just funny. My R6 was not only cheaper, I think it actually, after I put all the money into the R6, I think it's around the same price. The R9 definitely has better setup though. Better suspension, better brakes, at least better brake calipers for now. And steel braided lines. That's huge on a bike like this. A much more comfortable seat. They come with the, actually, it's funny enough, they come with the exact same wheels. I wonder if it's the same part number. I will say the best part about the new R9 is having that full electronic throttle because that bike is so much smoother than this one. Seriously, there's like night and day between these two bikes. You would think having an extra cylinder would make this bike a little bit more smooth, but no, it's the complete opposite, dude. I'm gonna have to wait till the R9 is fully broken in to do a detailed comparison, but I'm just giving you guys my initial impressions. The R9 is certainly smoother, certainly generations ahead of the R6, but does all of that technology, does all of that smoothness compromise the character of the bike? That, I think, is going to be the main thing that we're going to have to solve and figure out. I'll try to make it a fair comparison. We're going to try to get a tune on both these bikes, full exhausts. That way we are like as fair as humanly possible.
I will say, in terms of like the daily superbike, this thing is perfect. Oh god, I'm already starting to sound like the Glazers. Listen, without being like, oh, it's like the best bike ever made, I will say this is starting to become close to one of my tops. Granted, I have not ridden this thing hard yet, but in terms of like daily ability, this is awesome. Here's the problem though, as of recording this video, this is what my weather is looking like where I live. Fortunately, I'm gonna be in Arizona this weekend for the track day, but for the influencer track day with Jixabra and hopefully Adobo Moto. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm gonna be given a solid, ample opportunity to be able to work on this bike's break-in. Can we talk about that real quick? Can we talk about the influencer track day? Is that an appropriate thing to talk about in this video? I don't know. So they're calling it the influencer track day again, which I've argued with the people running it, being like, dude, this is such a stupid thing to call it, because whenever people hear the word influencer, it just turns people off. It's just my opinion. Whenever I hear the word influencer, I roll my eyes in the back of my head and just think, ugh, these people think they're so full of themselves, which is why I refuse to put myself on the front page of it. If they called it like literally anything else, I would like put myself front and center, be like, I want to promote this as hard as I can, but I don't promote it because I'm like, they call it an influencer track day. It sounds stupid. Regardless, I feel my friend's gonna be there, Jixabra and like all the people I know. Max Wrist, who's a bit of a controversial figure in the motorcycle community, invited out Adobo Moto, and then Adobo Moto freaked out and posted a bunch of false allegations about the people involved, including my friend Jixabra. He completely ignored what I called about it. I was like, hey, like, I think that
by some 40-year-old YouTuber who can't figure out his life and wants to go do a track day. Okay, there's guys out here that do this for a living and actually like are actually racing and winning titles.
If we're all trying to teach people to not do dumb stuff on the highway and take it to a track, we should be able to put that action behind our words and do it. I'm not going to call him slow because he's probably faster than me, but I just think it was a bad take.
He had an opinion being like how this influencer track day spits in the face of pro races, which I thought was the dumbest opinion of all time. I called him out and he completely ignored my call outs and just started going after random people.
Somebody had sent me receipts of you like dating high school chicks, like some girl that you really hurt. I don't know if it's true. I saw the receipts.
And then he took down all of his videos and has now blocked all of us and is just pretending like nothing happened. All because he just had a bad take and just couldn't admit to himself that he had a bad take. It was so unbelievably stupid. And then he follows it up by posting a video on YouTube of him doing 180 miles an hour the next day. On the street, mind you. He's doing 180 miles an hour on the street. Stuff that people have gotten arrested over. Cruise control. I love that. Yes, Yamaha, thank you. See, guys, is it that hard to have cruise control on a bike? I like this a lot. This makes me so happy. I don't know, in my opinion, because Adobo Moto has kids, I thought it could have just been really easy for him to just be like, no, I got kids, I can't go. But instead, he was just like framing it as having an influencer track day is spitting in the face of real racers. Like, shut up, bro. We're trying to make track days look cool. We're trying to make content out of track days. That should be a good thing for society. Instead of encouraging kids to go 180 miles an hour on the street like you, maybe we should get kids on the track. That's a good thing. It's just, that made me so frustrated, man. Like, it goes against everything that people on YouTube are trying to do. Motorcyclists on YouTube are trying to do. We're trying to explore different avenues than speeding through traffic and doing dumb stuff. The track is one of those times where we could go and improve our skills, look really cool while doing it, and encourage people to go to the track. That way people can get a vested interest in tracks. They put more money towards their local tracks and help keep them alive, because that's one of the biggest problems that we're facing right now is communities, people trying to set up residential developments are getting rid of tracks. And meanwhile, Mr. Adobo's over here being like, nope, to spit in the face of the real racers. Bro, if normal people didn't go to tracks, the tracks wouldn't exist in the first place. God, it's such a dumb opinion. And he deleted everything, so now we look stupid by trying to call him out for it, because he just he posted like 40 videos about it and deleted it the next day. Oh, it's so irritating. You know what? Let's calm down. I should be happy. We're on a brand new bike. This is a happy day. We're doing good. YouTube comments have been hella supportive lately, so I appreciate you guys. You guys keep me sane. The TikTok comments a little bit unintelligent, but the YouTube, I appreciate you guys. Whew. With the inclement weather kind of coming in later, it's just hot out right now. It's really hard to get out riding in full gear. I'm just a sweaty mess with the humidity. I thought it wise to kind of bring my bike home before we get rained on. My brand new bike with only 30 miles on it, I thought it would probably be a good time. My plan for after the track day is to get home and break this thing in as fast as possible, so that way I can give you guys a solid review on this bike. If that involves me having to trailer this bike somewhere to get it broken in, then so be it. But as it seems for the rest of the week, the weather here is just not going to be agreeing with us. But in case the weather does get better, I'll make sure to bring you guys along with me. This has been my first ride on a Yamaha R9. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
One last little clip I wanted to include. This is a text conversation between me and my friend Hunter back in 2022. Just to give you guys an idea how long we've been waiting on this bike. Can we just get an R9 already? It's driving me crazy. Been watching videos of the sound of the CP3 motor. It's just so good. Yeah, we've been waiting on this bike for a long while, so I can't wait for you guys to stick with me on the build, because it's gonna be freaking sweet, dude.